Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. Before we forget, we both got our book club book, and we haven't
Yes.
announced it yet. So I realize it is October 20.
Well, we'll get there when it gets there.
Yeah. But we are finally getting to read Men Have Called Her Crazy by Anna Marie Tendler. And for those of you who don't recall, that was John Mulaney's ex-wife, right? They were married.
They were,
Yeah.
but she allegedly does not talk about him in the books.
But apparently she talks about a lot of other things. So, have you started it yet?
No, I'm working on this other book first.
Did you get to finish tomorrow?
No, I haven't accepted it yet. Like I keep delaying it.
Oh, okay.
'Cause it always comes at the worst time.
Yeah, I know. I thought that you already had it, and I just randomly thought of that today.
No.
But yeah, I just got it. Which is what's like so funny when we get our books, our audiobooks, because mine still said like 4 or 5 weeks when you got it. Or it didn't say, it said I was like fifth in line or something. And then all of a sudden it just popped up and it was like, you can borrow.
I know. I hate that though too, because it's like when I want a book, I'm like, oh, I have to wait so long, so I accept other books, and then I'm like, well, I can't take on another one now.
I know. And then, like you said, you get some at the same time, then you have to delay the next one.
Yep. You're like, I can't take on. It's like you think you'd have enough time to do like a bunch at once, but it's like I just don't. Like I try not to have more than 3 borrowed at once.
Well, and if you have like 2 like biographies or autobiographies or memoirs at one time, that can get a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
So, the other one that I have on hold is Kelly Bishop's book. And I hope that that's good. I don't know if it will. I feel like it will be. She's been in the industry for a long time, but you just never know, I guess.
Yeah. You never know what they're gonna feel is necessary to share.
I know. And another one I heard, I was listening to Juicy Scoop today, and I can't remember her name, Wendy something. She's like the mom in the Goldbergs, the blonde-haired lady.
Oh yeah.
She said that Elvira's book is really good. Did you read it?
I didn't read it, but I've heard that one's really good.
She said it was juicy.
I know, I feel like I couldn't get it or something because I think I tried, but yeah, I heard that one was really good too.
We'll have to get on the list for that one and see. Now that it was put out there in the ethos again, it'll be impossible to get.
You know, right?
But yeah, so I'm excited to listen to that one. I think that she reads it. I guess I didn't look to see otherwise. I guess I kind
I
of
would assume that she would.
Yeah,
But I don't know, there's been random ones where they just don't read it.
I know, that's so true. Oh yeah, read by the author. So we'll see. I can't wait to give our opinions because Celebrity Memoir Book Club had some strong opinions on that one.
They did.
So yeah.
I finally watched Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I feel, like as a retrospective, what's it been, like 2, 3 years?
Yeah, it must be about that.
I thought it wasn't bad. Like, it was a good movie, but I just feel like all that drama surrounding it, like the end product wasn't worth all that, I guess. But it was still, I mean, it like had all that drama not come out, I think I would have been like, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, and it is pretty good. Like Florence Pugh does really good, and like the cinematography is just beautiful. Like the set design, all that was great. And there was parts where Harry was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't think that he was bad.
No, you know what I was thinking too? I was like, because all the Shia LaBeouf stuff. I'm
Mhm.
like, there is no way Shia LaBeouf would have accepted that. Like, I feel like Harry Styles took like a back seat kind of into some
Mhm.
parts, even though he was like a main part of the story still. There's no way Shia LaBeouf would have just like been in a movie where he was not more involved.
Well, and if he did, he would, like, do everything he could to make him the
Yeah. Like, so I
star
was like,
when he was on screen.
yeah, I was like, there's no way it would have worked.
No, I thought that Harry was fine as kinda like a side character, even though, yeah, he was, like, a main, I guess, but, um and then Florence obviously is she always gives a good performance. It kind of was a little like a little bit boring at times. Like it
Yeah,
just didn't pull me in all the way.
I didn't like all the like the cutaways where it'd be like the girls dancing and like
Mhm.
the eyeballs spreading. Like I just feel like it almost took itself a little too seriously in that way.
Yeah, and I don't really know what like I thought that the overall story was good and like the plot twist at the end was interesting, but there was just something about it that didn't really keep me engaged.
I know, like it was almost a little too like had they cut out all that like cutaway stuff, we could have shortened it up a little bit. Like I
Mhm.
think because it was I think a full 2 hours almost. So it was just kind of like I don't know, like it was fine,
It did
but
feel too long, I thought.
yeah, where it kinda, like, drug out a little bit. Like, it shoulda either been like a mini series or shorter. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like there would've been, like, no in between, and this was the in between.
Yeah, because I remember when I watched it, I think I watched it over, like, 2 nights or something. Because I just was like, "I do not feel like staying up and watching the rest of this movie," which is never really a great sign.
I
But
know.
everybody looked so good in it, like, I
They
liked
did.
that.
I know, like, Florence looked so adorable with that hair and the little
Mhm.
dresses she had on, like, it was so perfect. And then Harry looked good. Like, he
Mhm.
looked the part. And even Olivia Wilde looked good, and, what's his name?
Chris Pine.
Yeah, he looked like, good, and he did good as that person. I almost kinda wish we coulda had more
Yeah, we
of
didn't get
him.
a lot of him.
No.
Yeah, I just
Hi, welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Lori.
Join three middle-aged, middle-class Jersey Shore housewives as we spill the wine and the tea on everything from Bravo's hottest shows to life's everyday drama and entertainment news. I'm the redhead. I'll bring the spice.
I'm the brunette. I'll bring the humor.
I'm the blonde. I'll bring the fun.
It's unfiltered, it's hilarious, and it's always real talk from your favorite trio. Whether it's relationships, parenting, or pop culture, We Wine Whenever has you covered.
We drink wine whenever, and we hope you do too. Tune in for Cocktail Hour with the crew at We Wine Whenever, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
and the ending it was so like I liked the ending how it was like psychotic almost.
Right.
But
Yeah, it got, like, a little deranged, which I like.
yeah,
I wish it coulda, I liked that part of it, like, her character kinda, like, becoming more deranged,
yeah,
which was fun, but I think they coulda went a little bit more with it.
me too.
But, like, even the ending, I'm like, I'm gonna have to, like, watch something or read comments because it's like I was a little bit not confused. Like, I'm not sure exactly what ends up happening to her then. Like, it kind of seems like she wakes up and maybe is stuck back in that world again, but it cut away.
Yeah, was that the first because Olivia Wilde, did she produce that or direct it?
I believe she directed it. Well, let
Was
me look
that
it up.
her first directing?
She did Booksmart
Oh,
before that.
yeah.
I
But this
actually
is
liked that. I thought it was
I
funny.
didn't see that one. But this was her first like drama, right? Because Booksmart was comedy.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, that one was a comedy. I mean, it was how comedy is now, where it's like drama comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it does say she directed it.
I mean, it's not easy to direct, but
especially when you're in it too.
it almost felt like just biting off a little bit more. Like, okay, you want to make such a big impact, so you try to throw everything but the kitchen sink in there, and it almost just didn't work that well.
No. Okay, it looks like, Booksmart Wake Up. Looks like Margaret Qualley's in that. Some kind of Free Hugs back in 2011. And maybe a Red Hot Chili Peppers music video.
Oh, well, in that case.
But that's it, so yeah. And I feel like, and it was crazy too when I was like on the Prime where it gives you the trivia. That drama was literally in the trivia. I was like, oh my gosh. Like the way that it was like the way that completely clouded this movie.
I know, it totally did. It does make you wonder, like, would things have been different if, like, Olivia and Harry didn't date?
I know, like, I really wanna know, like, what happened with Florence Pugh, and I know it's, like, couple years after
Yeah.
that, but remember she, like, wouldn't promote it, like
She literally didn't. I mean, she went on the red carpet and stuff, but I don't think she even, like, talked about it much at all.
and I know in this new movie that We Live in Time or something, it's, like, all over her Instagram. It's, like, she's talking about it, and it's just so funny. I'm like, gosh, literally what fully happened? I wanna know.
With this movie, she's literally like, yeah, we were so into our lovemaking scene that we didn't hear the camera cut. Like, and they're fully doing press as like they are lovers. Like,
I know. In this movie, silence.
yeah, so crazy. But
It's funny.
I guess whatever. Just speaking of like Hollywood stuff, Jennifer Lawrence is pregnant with her second little baby.
Yes.
And she's just totally been, I don't know, really just like flying under the radar recently.
I know.
Like, I mean, we've
working on that baby.
Yeah, we've seen her, how beautiful she's been looking, but like, I mean, every now and again, we'll get like a Daily Mail shot with her walking her kid in the stroller or something. But like, I wonder if she's going to take a little break from acting while she's having the second kid.
I would assume so, because that's what she did with the first one.
Yeah. What was she in something else recently besides the whatchamacall, that comedy movie?
No Hard Feelings.
Yeah.
I thought she was, but maybe that's because she like came into the press again.
Yeah, I know,
and then went back away.
Her beautiful new face.
Yeah.
But I can't really think of what she actually was in.
Either, yeah, because she just like was there, and then she was. Maybe she wasn't.
Yeah, maybe she wasn't in anything.
Or was it like during award season or something she like popped back up? Because she was just popping
Probably.
back up.
I mean,
Oh
it
wait,
looks.
she has something coming out next year.
Wow.
Die, My Love. So
Yeah,
maybe we saw her filming that or something.
Because it looks like that's the only No Hard Feelings is the last thing. Interesting.
You know.
I wonder what that Die, My Love is. A horror comedy? A dark
Oh, that might
comedy
be fun.
horror. An adaptation of a novel about a new mother in the French countryside who develops postpartum depression and enters psychosis. And it looks like Robert Pattinson might be attached.
Maybe
Yeah.
I did see something where they like announced that casting. Robert
Interesting.
Pattinson's gonna be in some stuff lately.
I know.
He's getting back in there.
I love it. I love it. Love to see him in pretty much anything. But yeah, another thing that I saw was that according to TMZ, so you don't know, was that by the time this comes out, we might already know about it, but it says that there's going to be a new verdict with the Menendez trial about the manslaughter charge.
I did see that on like Friday or something, didn't it say that?
Yeah, it said by the end of the week, so I would assume Friday.
Dun, dun.
So as you're listening to this, the Menendez brothers may be walking out of prison.
It's just like insane to go from being in prison for so long. And I get like they have wives and stuff, so they're not coming back to nothing. But to like be back in the real world and then you're gonna be like an influencer, like a Gypsy Rose thing where you're like everybody wants to interview you and then you kind of go away.
I know, because even though they are married, they've never lived with these women.
No, so they're
how do
most
they?
definitely gonna have a divorce. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not really far off base.
Right?
Like,
And then all these
especially.
people are gonna be sending you messages, like hitting you up thirsty,
All those
fetishizing you.
TikTokers that have been making those edits.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think it would be really weird. And then, like, what if you guys actually don't really get along? Like, yeah, of course, everything was great. He's been away for 30 years. Like, you haven't
and of
had.
course you right. And of course, if you're them, you're gonna love this person that they actually gave you a chance and everything. And it's like you're not with any other women, you're not around anyone besides this person that's giving you a little bit of hope. But then once you like exist again.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really crazy. I don't know how you even like navigate that. Like, it's just so insane. Like, especially if you hear the people who are wrongly accused or whatever, and then they end up getting out. It's literally like one day you think you're serving a life sentence and the next day it's overturned and you're walking free. Like, there's no even like transition period. It's literally incarcerated, not good luck with the rest of your life. Like, that's so wild.
I know, like it's like if you don't have family or something, you're just with the wolves.
Yeah.
And like how old are they now?
They've got to be in their 50s, right? Because they've been in. Have they been in for 30 or 35 years?
Oh gosh, Lyle is 56.
Wow.
How old is Eric?
Lyle is the older one. Yeah.
Yeah. 53. So, oh my gosh. So he's like almost 60.
Jeez.
I'm kidding. Holy crap.
I mean, I don't know. That's just, we've talked about it on the pod and off, but it's just kind of conflicting because do I think that they're a danger to the rest of society? I mean, no, like, I don't really think that they're gonna come out here and just start murdering other people. But at the same time, it's just weird, that like,
Right.
okay, now they're just suddenly gonna be freed on new evidence or like a technicality kind of like that. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's just a moral gray area.
Right. And it's weird too. Or like, what if they get in a fight with, this new wife or something and kind of snap? It's like they've killed
Mhm.
somebody before. I know that was a different situation, but it's like,
True.
or like, they're going to be starting getting harassed by people who think that they're guilty and shouldn't be
Yeah.
out. And like,
Yeah.
what if there's a public confrontation with that? And like, I don't know. It just, they could, hurt someone again.
I know, you just don't know. And if you're the wife or the wives, wouldn't you feel a little bit nervous? I mean, the whole time
I
that
would,
you've been with them, they've been incarcerated and you
like, you've been
you haven't had
safe in
to
a way.
worry. Yeah.
There's a guard there, when you see
Mhm.
them. I know, and it's like so hard not to compare them to like Gypsy Rose all the time, but it's like
No.
this, not similar, but like kind of. And
Oh,
at least with
thank
her, she didn't actually do it herself.
so. Well, she's lucky that she didn't, or else she probably wouldn't have gotten out.
Right.
But they'll probably have a podcast together that'll blow our podcast out of the water. Not that we're in the same genre, but
Right.
yeah, they'll probably, because I mean, they'll do interviews. I mean, I think that they
Books.
already did some, didn't they?
It seems like they have.
So I
But yeah, and
mean,
then I know they'll definitely be able to get some money out of the fame.
mhm. But even with, I wonder with Gypsy Rose too, like ever since she got pregnant, we really haven't heard as much from her. And I hope that that's like deliberate because she's been wanting it that way and not just like, oh, nobody cares anymore. Because I feel like with the Menendez brothers, like, I don't know, it always felt like as if we lived through the whole thing, but we've seen so much at this point. But it seems like they kind of like liked the notoriety a little bit. So I just wonder,
Yeah.
once they're out and this history kind of gets rewritten, they're not going to be super famous forever, like
Right.
the like need to know and like the sparkle of them is going to kind of tarnish after a little while. People are going to get bored.
Right. Because there's not really anything to like fight for anymore.
Yeah. Or like, what are they going to talk about? Like, are they going to talk
Right.
about how they killed their parents?
Right. That'd be weird.
Yeah,
I'd be
that would be really weird.
like, I'm a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And like, no offense to them, but I don't really care about what you've been doing in prison for this long.
Right.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I feel like it'll probably go to manslaughter and they'll get out. I would be surprised if it didn't.
I know. Especially with like the public pressure.
Mhm. Yeah. Seems like they definitely have the public on their side. And I'm
Mhm.
sure Ryan Murphy will say that he had a hand in this
I know.
if it does go their way.
Yeah, since he did put them back on the map.
Yeah, and did them such a favor by painting them as incestual lovers.
The homoerotic
Like, come
scripted
on.
show he made.
Yeah. So it's such a freak.
Literally about two brothers. I don't know.
I know.
Yucky.
I know. Kind of going with like conspiracy theory-ish stuff. I started listening to this podcast called Witnessed, and it's one of those ones where each season is like a different story and a different case. And the one that I was listening to was called Fade to Black, and it's about this writer in Hollywood, and he kind of would do like a lot of rewrites and stuff. But he ended up going missing. And at first I'm like, wow, like that's kind of a crazy story in and of itself. Like, how does a grown man go missing? And this was like, I don't even know how many years ago it was, like 30 plus years ago. And before like cell phones and everything. But then it brings in this bizarre oh my God, criminal CIA. I could not think of that acronym for a second. CIA conspiracy theory that like they had a hand in basically hiding him or killing him because he was writing this new screenplay about blowing open all these secrets about the CIA. And I'm just like listening to it and like it's just like so crazy, but is it crazy enough to be true, or is it just like a complete conspiracy? Like I can't tell so far.
At this point, with all the stuff that's coming out, that's always been like, oh, that's a conspiracy or that's not real. Don't listen to them, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and all that's literally coming true. It's like, yeah, this is probably true. It's like, it's scary to think that like the government can like off you.
I
But there's
know.
been so many bizarro stories of like somebody involved with something and then they all just like drowned in a pool, like a whole family.
I
It's like,
know.
are you kidding me? Like, but it's
Like
like the
that's
little
not a
people, we can't
coincidence.
do anything. Yeah.
Remember that one, and I can't even remember exactly what the story was. There was some court case, some witness and something, and then all of a sudden they like drowned in their above ground swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? It was
Yeah,
a
or
few
like,
years ago.
yeah, and that, but wasn't it like a couple of them like
Yeah,
drowned and stuff? And it
it
was
was
like,
a couple of them.
and then they were like, it was an electrical thing.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not true at all.
I know, like, that doesn't even make sense. And maybe you could think like, okay, a freak accident happened to one person, but it was like multiple people that were involved in that case.
I know, yeah, and I feel like there's been other examples of that too, where it's just like, where did these people go?
Yeah,
And then you don't get any more information about them, and it's
right.
like,
They just kind of
mm,
disappear. But then
mhm,
this story or this podcast is just kind of like, it's wild because since it was older too, like this happened like decades ago, it's almost like I believe things more because we just didn't have the traceability that we do now with stuff. But then at the
right,
same time, like the podcast is also saying, like proving something's wrong because since it was decades ago, people's memories aren't as good as they were like at the time. So they're
mhm,
proving like, okay, well, this story actually got twisted because we found the records of this and it actually said differently. But then you're like, but did it? Did they just
right.
fabricate it? Like, you don't, it's so wild. And then the crazy thing was, which I didn't know this, but remember the movie Zero Dark 30 with Jessica Chastain?
Mhm,
It said that I think that movie and Argo came out in the same award cycle, and it was saying how Zero Dark 30 was basically CIA propaganda because they had like a CIA, like it was a position for, I can't remember the actual title, but it was basically somebody who was in the CIA or retired CIA, and then they would work with film production on advising of things, and there were things about the CIA that they would not allow to be in films, and things that they would want like reworded or whatever. And so basically, like so many of the things in that movie were just what the CIA wanted us to know about them and painting them in a good light. And I'm like, that's just like wild to me that they pay, that's someone's job.
I know, and it's just insane, but it's like, it's the age of Aquarius, so we're going to be learning all this stuff now. All the truths are coming out.
Literally.
I totally believe, like, that's why with, like, I know we kind of talked about that a little bit before with biopics and stuff. It's like, it's like, what do I believe? Or like there's this rumor of, Oppenheimer talking to Einstein or whatever. And then it's like, yeah, that probably did happen. But then I'm like, but did it? It's just like all these, it's like we can never really get the truth.
I know, because I mean, if we ended up being like famous, say, and they wanted to make a biopic about us, but we're like dead, and so it's just our families, like they're not gonna want all the negative things that we've done put out there.
Right.
Like they're gonna want to paint us in a positive light. And if we did something that was like really good for the world or something,
right,
like that would be the focus, not how because of that we were like horrible parents or whatever. Like that wouldn't be highlighted,
Right. So it's like, I know when we're like, we just always want to like rewrite history all the time to make it the narrative we want it to.
And then that's the one that's usually the more popular narrative, because people are more likely to like see clips of that or go see the movie rather than actually reading books or whatever.
Right. And it like always reminds me of like the like Thanksgiving story where it was like, no, the indigenous people, we just shared, we just shared with each other. Never mind the fact that we just kept pushing them to the freaking west.
And we brought disease and killed so many of them. Like
the pilgrims. We all shared those.
We all belong.
I know. And it's like just, or even the way they talked about like slavery and everything, like just the whole time we grew up, and then it was like when you're an adult you're like, oh no, this was not at all what we were told.
Or when you were younger you're like, oh well, that's not that bad. And then when you're older you're like, oh my god, the atrocities.
I know. It's like we just like kind of like, that when people are like, we whitewash it, and we do. It's like, well, I want to present you with, this was bad happening, but like, look at what this person did.
Yeah, we totally just glamorize it.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just weird.
I believe it. I believe that they are often people.
It's just insane. It's insane to think that. And then it's the things where, people always make the joke of like, oh, I better not keep talking because Big Brother's listening. And, we're like, oh, in reality, why would they randomly be listening into our conversation? We're nobodies. But at the same time,
I know. Well, yeah, because it's like, remember that one TikToker that passed away that would read all the blind items? And people are like, yeah, it's a little weird that she passed away when she's like exposing all these things. And then you're like, oh, you guys stop. Like, I'm sure it was something else. But you're like, I don't know.
Who's to say at this point?
I know. Or there's been like, I remember there's this one TikTok person that he lived, I can't remember where he lived, but anyway, he kept like seeing these weird light things and then like people and stuff. And then all of a sudden there was just like no more videos. after like gained traction and you're like, yeah, he could have been making it up and maybe nothing happened to him. Maybe he just didn't want to be involved anymore. But then you're like, maybe he freaking
Or
saw something.
yeah.
They like shut him down.
Yeah, they knocked on his door and were like, here's an ultimatum. You stop now or
Or
you
this gets
stop
out of hand.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's like you don't think they're listening in on little old you, but
Or
it's
maybe
like
they are. Or maybe they're not, like, if you have a one-off conversation, but if you're continuously talking, searching things, I'm sure that they're tracking that.
I know. Well, and like the other countries and stuff on our like apps and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, we know that they have access to our personal information, but it's like,
And we literally give it to them. Like, you
I know,
download
we're
a
like,
new
it's
app and
fine.
you're like, okay, yes, let's go.
Accept terms and agreements.
Like, you don't even read anything.
Like, I'm good. It's wild.
I know.
But
But
I know
I
it's
mean,
hard not to, yeah.
I like the podcast overall. Like, the Witnessed podcast is interesting. The first one I listened to was about a like angel of death nurse at a VA nursing home. And then the next one was about like a bomber, a serial bomber in Austin, Texas, who was making like package bombs. And then this one is about this guy that's gone missing, which some things are making me just do a lot of thinking and wondering about what's really going on out here. I don't know.
I know one of those conspiracies that I always like loop around and like have to keep going back to is the Vegas shooting one, where it's like nobody talks about it anymore, and it was the biggest mass shooting in the USA or whatever. And it's like, but we have like zero information about the guy who did it, like no motive, nothing. And it's like, was this guy, just a scapegoat thing, or was it all set up and they wanted to do, for whatever reason, this huge thing?
It's just so hard to even go there, like it's so hard to even, because if you open that can of worms, then it's like, well, was 9/11 a hoax? Was Sandy Hook a hoax? Was the moon landing a hoax? Like, was our whole history a hoax? Like, it's so hard to even think about that. Like, my brain will just implode.
I know, you're like, I can't go there. But then, like, if this small thing ended up being true, it's like, what's going on?
I know. Yeah, what are the real secrets of our country and our government?
I think it's better we just don't know.
I know. You'll probably never hear from us as a podcast again after this episode.
Just know they got us.
Oh, God.
Speaking of like that, well, not really. I watched the movie.
We tried to do smooth transition, but it's so hard.
I watched Late Night with the Devil. I'm not sure if you heard much about that movie because it had like some controversy around it with the AI stuff.
No, I didn't.
And when I first heard that stuff, because I hadn't seen the movie, I was really confused as to what they were talking about. But now that I've seen the movie, I understand what they're talking about, because they kept saying artwork was AI. And I was like, I don't understand what that means. Like, it was so hard for me to get like the information on it. But anyway, now that I've seen it, I understand. So it's like based in the 70s, and it's like a talk show. So it's like Late Night with the Devil or whatever. And then things go awry. But when it switches, like it'll like go to a commercial break, because it's like you're just watching the talk show.
Okay, yeah.
And then there'll be some times where they turn the camera off and then it's like in black and white and you like see that. But when it goes like, oh, commercial break, it comes up with like that, like the title of the talk show and stuff. And that's the part they use the AI for. So it was like they just, I don't know, made it so it was like a 70s font and color scheme. And that was the AI. And people were like so mad about that.
Why?
Well, at first I was like, I don't get like the big deal. But then when I went on Letterboxd, there were so many people talking about how, like, well, where does it end? Like, if you're going to do this, what's going to stop you from doing that? And they're like, they should have hired an artist because that takes away a job from somebody to do that. And there was literally so many, I can't remember what its actual rating was, but there was a ton of half stars. They're like, yeah, I like this movie, but I can't give it any more than this because of the AI thing. And I was like,
I
oh
don't.
my gosh.
I guess I'm like trying to look it up right now so I can like see. I guess
I know, because it was hard to understand what they were talking about until I actually watched the movie, because it was like the artwork. And I'm like, what does that mean, the artwork? Like, but no, yeah.
I guess but it's just like the whole like AI thing is just like I guess
It's
it's just like
complicated.
yeah, and it's kind of like a larger conversation that I guess I'm sure that they're having internally in the
Right.
industry. But because even with just speaking of it, the Wicked thing that came out with
Yeah.
like the fan art poster and how they
Mhm.
used AI to change so it looked like the actual
Mhm.
play bill. And it's just like I don't know. Like, is
I
that
know it.
something to
I
be
know,
mad
and
about?
I know, well, and because it was like, I didn't feel like that person, especially specifically in that thing, had like ill intent. It was like they
Mhm.
should have did this, but then it was like I kind of, even though I felt it was a tad dramatic, I felt like I also got what the actress was saying too, because it was like you're just messing with me and like changing me, but it's like we do that all the time with Photoshop, or
I
like
know. So would you
airbrushing and stuff.
right, and would she have been mad if the person didn't use AI and if they just Photoshop edited
Right.
it themselves? Like, I guess I just don't or if they like drew a whole new thing but like drew her, like would
Right.
she still have been mad? I guess I don't know, and with the like if what you're saying with Late Night with the Devil, if it was essentially just like the graphics, I
Mhm.
mean, they probably did that because it saved time and money.
Right, and that's what there was, like, comments like, "Yeah, whatever the budget, blah, blah, blah." Like, they were not giving them any, like, leeway at all, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like when they were doing it, they probably thought it was harmless in that way.
Probably. Was
So it's
it
like, I
like
don't.
I mean, is this like what
Yeah, like, stuff like that. I believe
okay,
that's what they're referring
two.
to, 'cause
Okay.
like I said, it was confusing, but after reading the comments, I'm pretty sure they were talking about, like, that type of stuff, and it's like,
Why is that big of a deal, I guess they
oh, I know. I'm like, it, I don't know. I feel like now if you're, but haven't they kind of done stuff with like CGI where it was, what
Yeah.
was in Fast and the Furious or something? They like used Paul Walker's brother, but
Yes.
then like did his face over it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So I
we're,
mean, this says
I,
that late because I just looked up some budgeting. It says the exact figures are unknown for Late Night with the Devil, but it reportedly cost they were apparently on a tight schedule to cut costs and only $150,000 was spent on visual effects. And then they went to earn 11 million at the global box office. So I mean it sounds like they didn't have a lot of money
right.
to
And
do
so, right.
so they
And I
cut
don't
what
know.
they needed to.
Right, and I don't know how much that would have cost for them to hire an artist to, like, do those graphics.
And I guess for me, it's like I don't like it if we're using AI like in a film where we're making actors, like I
Yeah.
don't like the even like that Paul Walker thing, like that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Like I think it's kind of weird when we would
Right.
do like they do like a holographic print one time. Like I think that's
Yeah.
weird when
I
we
think it's
see
uncomfortable.
yeah, when we see that they can scan somebody's face and body and then just like manipulate them into doing anything with all these deep fakes, like I don't like
Mhm.
that. But if we're using it for just graphic content like that, I mean, yeah, I think that graphic designers are really important and that's a great job and I don't want to see that job disappear. But at the
Right.
same time, it's like, well, then do we want to ban the use of this technology or not? Like,
Right. Like, some I know because when I was on TikTok, I think it was I don't remember, but it was with the One Direction stuff, and they had the AI voices of, like, Louis and, Zayn reading their posts for Liam, and it was
mm,
like this AI I'm like, "Now that is freaky," like,
yeah,
stuff like that, like, I know it's just or even with the, talk of, like, A Court of Thorns and Roses, make it into a movie and people being like, "I just feel like we won't be able to capture it without the basically AI animation is, like, the only way you could almost go with it for people to be happy because 'cause they're not gonna be happy with who they cast and stuff." And
hmm
it's like, that's also even though those are, like, fake characters, it is kinda like, well, if I can make them these superhumans that look so beautiful, why would we even need to hire actors anyway, except for, like, voice acting? But even then, you can make the voices with AI.
yeah. Well, and it's like with the uglies. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the difference with using like the crazy filters that they used on Chase Stokes and Joey King? Like they
Mhm.
actually had to act, but then when they went to over and became pretty, like they were totally AI'd and filtered up and stuff,
Mhm.
but they still did it. So
Right.
like why can't we still utilize actors to actually do the acting? And then if we
Right.
want to do something different with like special effects in that way, then we can manipulate looks or whatever. But like
Right.
it's just like the because AI is still I guess you could say it's kind of still in like its inception because there's
Mhm.
still a lot of things to work through. It's it's usually kind of obvious when it's being used.
Right. Right, like, I can kinda tell or even, like, when I was talking about, a few months ago or weeks ago when I was on Pinterest and every picture was,
Yeah.
like, AI'd up, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore because 'cause I'm like, it still looks like a
What's
person, but I'm like,
real?
"Wait, it's not."
Yeah.
Like and that's, like, kinda wild too. I mean, the whole thing is wild, but yeah, as far as, like, I get why the background actors are like, "No, I don't wanna sell you my likeness, and then you can just use me for all eternity for no
Mhm.
money,
Mhm.
and then I don't have my extras job anymore."
I wouldn't want to do that.
I know. So it's like I get why with the people were making a big deal about those graphics for this late night with the devil because it's like where does it stop? But to me it almost felt like not, like not a ton of movies are going to be using that type like it just worked with the movie because it was like a late night talk show going to
Mhm.
commercial breaks. It's like there's not a ton of movies that are doing that. So I just kind of felt like it to me seemed harmless, but
It's just so like weird though too because I mean I have the Adobe Creative Suite like in Photoshop
right,
I can use AI to
right,
change stuff instead of me going through and having to do like 50 steps to make a change.
right,
I just highlight and say put a black dress, and then I can see myself in different black dresses. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if me, that's a nobody in Ohio, has access to that kind of technology, then why shouldn't a huge person on a major production or even a small film, like, why should they not be able to use that?
I know, especially for something so
Small.
minute in my
Yeah.
problem, or in my opinion, but I know, so it'll be interesting to see because they got so much backlash on this movie, like what will happen
Well, it is
in the
interesting too
future.
because how did they, like, know? Like, who was the one that
Like
heard
told,
that that was AI? Yeah, because if I just look at that, like, I don't know, I wouldn't have, just by looking at it, I wouldn't have been like, "Oh, that was made with AI. That graphic was
right.
made with the AI."
Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe they said it themselves, like production or what, and then it was like, "Oh, that didn't go over well." Like, yeah, I don't know how people found out about that.
Yeah, they told on themselves.
I know. I'm kind of thinking that may have been what happened though, because when I was back when the movie first came out and I was watching just like videos on it and they were talking about they're just like the artwork or whatever, and we know that about it. And I'm like, but so they
Weird.
must have just ratted themselves out.
Well, did you like the movie?
I did. I thought it was fun and something different. It wasn't like mind blowing or anything, but it was a
Yeah.
fun movie. It was like you were watching a movie in the 70s and then it kind of like got, I mean, it got pretty creepy. I mean,
I
so
mean, I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like a different concept than our typical horror
yeah,
films.
I know. And I was just kind of bummed. Like, I wonder what its actual rating could have been had I not seen all those half stars. It's like,
Yeah. I mean, it looks like, when I just look it up though, like, I mean, it has a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's 97%. So, like, it seems like in general, like, it
it's
did
good.
well.
Yeah, I liked it. It is streaming on Hulu, so
Oh, I'll have to watch it. I mean,
yeah.
it's that one thing where our Letterboxd crowd is a little different
Tough.
than
They're tough out there.
they're a tough one.
That is the people speaking.
Yeah. For the good or the bad, they are speaking their minds.
Yes.
I haven't watched any, like, scary movies yet, and I'm annoyed because it's like the end of October, but I don't know why. Like, the time just seems to
I
be
know, then
flying.
I know, and then nights are gone, and
Yeah.
it's like you start one, and then you're like, actually, well, and then too, it's like by the time I finally sit down, because a lot of that stuff I can't watch in front of my kids.
Yeah.
So it's like by the time I finally lay into bed, it's like I'm just gonna scroll on TikTok for 15 minutes and then go to bed. Or like if
I
I'm
know.
working out, sometimes I'll start one or watch one, but it's hard for me to keep like a good pace if I'm not like listening to more music.
I know. Well, and some, like, I have shows that I'm trying to watch too, so
Right,
I'm trying to catch up on those. But then I want to watch these fun movies. It's not like they take them off of streaming, but they're not as easy to find sometimes.
right,
And it's like I want to watch them, but I also don't want to commit to, like, an hour and 45 minutes sometimes. I
right.
just want to watch like a 50-minute show and then be done.
Yeah, I know. It's tough.
So I know I should, before Halloween, before this month is over, I need to watch a few things. Um, I went to Chicago for 24 hours this past weekend, which is kind of crazy because it was mostly driving.
Mhm.
But it was just kind of nice because I had been wanting to go to New York, and in the fall, and I just, like, that's kind of a bigger trip because you
It
fly
is.
and stuff. And I don't really want to just do that in like one day. Like you want to have more time
Right.
there. But Chicago from us is only about 4 hours away. So like that's not horrible. And my dad originally was like going to go with me and then he just like wasn't. But anyway, so yeah, it was like such a beautiful weekend. And I was there like Saturday and then left Sunday. So like midday Saturday to midday Sunday. And the thing I didn't know, because on Sunday I got up early and I wanted to like do a little shopping and walk around, but none of the stores open until 11. So that
I know. Well, I know. Well, it's annoying because they do that like everywhere, and it's like you don't think about it, and you're like, wait, are you freaking kidding me?
I know. And I mean,
what about the 9 a.m. shoppers?
Right. Seriously. And it's like even some of the store, like, walking on Michigan Avenue, like I'm not going to go into all the designers because I don't have that budget, but it's nice to look in the windows and just browse and window shop and stuff. And it's like I couldn't even do that because all the gates were down and the jewelry's taken out of the windows. And then I did get late checkout because I stayed at this little B&B, which was actually cute. And I should have sent you a picture, but like the walk up to their house, they had all this Halloween decorations, which was so fun. But the checkout was at like 11 and I paid for late checkout, which was 1, which isn't even that much later. So then by the time like I was able to actually go in any stores, it's like, okay, well now I'm going to have to eat something and get back because I don't want to be late. But it was nice. We've talked about like the two of us going on a little trip to Chicago. We should do that because it really wasn't that bad of a drive. Once you get on the turnpike, it's just straight.
Right. Yeah. I know. Like when me and my husband went, it's like, that's not a bad, sorry. It's not a bad trip. And then you're just like home that day that you want to come back.
Right. I mean, it would be a long day, but like you could leave early in the morning and come back in the evening and it wouldn't be a big deal.
I know my step aunt lived out there and we did that one time, like when we were younger, we like went in the morning, came back in the night. Like it's a lot, but doable.
Yeah. You know what's such a pain is all the tolls.
Yes. It's like, here we go again.
I know. And because my dad and I went when I was in grad school and we had spring break and we went for the weekend. So I was like, 3 years ago now. But I mean, I remember us hitting all the tolls, but I wasn't driving, so you're kind of like not.
You don't care, right?
Yeah, and then when I'm driving, I'm like, geez, another one. And then I freaked out a little bit because at first, when you're on the Ohio Turnpike, you get your ticket, and then you go and pay and stuff. But then the next one is still Ohio Turnpike, but you don't have a ticket. And I know, like,
that's
oh my God, did I miss something?
I know. I know, it's so funny.
I know, it's really weird. And it's like by the time you freaking get there, you're probably spending like $25.
That's freaking toll. I know. I remember me and my husband having that conversation too. We're like, well, how do we know what we pay?
Yeah.
You get up there and they're like $12.50. You're like, okay.
Or
how do you know?
Literally just like here, they take the card, they run it, and they're like, oh yeah, $7.75. Oh, okay. Thank you. Like at this point, don't even tell me.
I know, just charge it.
Yeah. But no, it was good. I was a little bit scared because I just always get anxious about like parking if I drive somewhere. And not that I felt like anything was going to happen to my car, but it's just like I was like, oh my God, I parked in the wrong space and my car's not going to be there. And then what am I going to do? Like, I have no way of getting back. But the place that I stayed at, they get like a certain number of parking passes, and it's for certain street parking right by
Mhm.
the B&B. And so that was great, but it was kind of hard to find a space. I had to go around the block a couple times before I found one. Somebody left. And then I was just like, oh my God, like my car's just not gonna be there. Like I was just so nervous.
I know that's kind of how our little thing was too. It was like at first we parked like right in front of it, and because it's like, oh, parking right in front or whatever, but it was like street parking. And then we were there, and I'm like, I don't think this is a spot though, because there's like a weird sign. And then so we called the guy, and he could like see us on the camera, and he's like, no, you can't park there. And then we were like across the other street, and then we just like left our car there the whole time, like we didn't have to pay or anything, but it was like just sitting there.
I know. You just get nervous.
I know. So, like if you don't know the area, you're like, is someone gonna break into my car? Is it gonna get
Yes.
towed?
Yeah. And yeah, and I thought that too about like the area I was in. It was like the North Halstead, and they call it Boys Town, so it's very like LGBTQ friendly. There's like rainbows all over the streets, and so like I felt very safe being a
Right.
woman on her own. But I still like, I don't know, whenever you're in a city, they always talk to you about carjackings. So I'm like, can you change? I have to take out of my car. I have to hide my iPhone like plug. Like everything has to go away. There's nothing here that they would take, because you just don't want to chance it.
No, I know, because you're like, great, I don't want my window busted out for
And then
50
I
cents.
have to drive freaking 4 hours with a busted window. The place I stayed was really cute though. I mean, it was like an older house, but it was really nice and whatever. And like I said, good neighborhood, and it was really easy to like check in and secure and whatever. But it was insane because on the weekends, like I paid like 200 something, which is pretty average, I think, especially for a weekend. But then I looked during the week, it was literally $84. And then like plus, the taxes and whatever.
Right.
But I'm like, oh my God. Like they just gouge on the weekends.
I know. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like supply and demand, I guess.
Because who can go on a random Tuesday,
Right.
Especially in October. That's not a popular time.
You know. Well, and it's like whenever I try to like look for places to stay, I'm like, how much do I want to pay for something?
I know.
And it's like it's nice to be in like a little house or like a cute little cabin thing. But then you're like, at this point, I should just get a hotel, which isn't as cute or fun. But then it's like it's cheaper. And then you're like, well, what am I even using this for? And like, what am I even doing if I'm just staying somewhere? I'm like, yeah, it's nice to get away. But then I'm like, but like, what am I paying for?
I know. I literally, because typically, if I would go to New York, I would get an Airbnb. But now Airbnbs are basically the same price as a hotel. And you don't get, like with a hotel,
the amenities.
Yeah, you don't get the amount. You don't get your own bathroom with an Airbnb usually.
Right.
It's like I might as well pay for the security and the privacy of a hotel at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, if everything's gonna be, especially in New York, if I'm looking at like $250 to $350, like then I'm paying for a hotel at this point.
I'm getting that continental breakfast.
Yeah, but it's just insane because even like a couple years ago when I went to New York, I stayed at this Airbnb that it was like a little bit sketchy, but it was inexpensive. And I was like, I don't even care because I'm literally just going to sleep here. But even now, like being a few years older, I'm just like, I don't even want to take that risk anymore. Like,
I
I
know.
don't even want to do that. Like, I would rather feel fully secure, fully comfortable,
Mhm.
clean. Like, I don't want to, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit more. I don't even care.
Right. Than to be in like a weird thing that I know
Yeah,
nothing. It's like if you're like, oh, I know what to expect at a hotel, but I
right.
don't know what to expect in like a random house that I'm staying in.
Especially if there's other people that are staying there too. Like, you don't know
Right.
what these other people are like.
I know. I know. When me and my husband went to Chicago, that hostel, and
Oh,
it was like, we're like, man, it got really hot. You know, we were talking to like one of the ladies. She goes, yeah, I turned off the heat or whatever because I was cold. And I'm like, it's
oh.
not just about you, you friggin' doopy head. Like, but yeah, I know. It's just like, you don't know what you're going to get. Like, usually people just keep to themselves, but
I know.
then it's
Well,
freaking
the
weird.
place I was at upstairs, there were 3 rooms and then there was 1 bathroom. And luckily, like, we didn't have any issues where, like, somebody was in the bathroom and the other person really needed it, or it was a super
Right.
inconvenience. But at one point, like, it was kind of in the evening and I was walking out to go into the bathroom, and then the ladies kind of like across had their door open, and like I caught the eye of the other lady who they were like getting ready to go out somewhere, and we were both kind of just like, "Hi."
Hi, stranger.
Like, we're sharing a living space, but we don't know anything about each other.
We're just like hanging out. I
Yeah.
know, and it's like weird, but then it ends up being, I don't know. I know. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's just more intimate than a hotel because, like, you're fully sharing the same space, you
Yeah,
know?
I know.
But yeah, it was nice to just have a little getaway, even though it is kind of a long drive, but it was nice. And especially since it was just such nice weather, it felt good to just walk around. And
Mhm.
it's always nice to walk in a city. Like, it just, because we don't really get the opportunity to do a ton of walking where we live because
No,
it's just more rural.
right.
So yeah, but anyway, anything else new with you?
Not too much. Just working on Halloween costumes and
Oh yes, I got the finishing touches for mine. The top came today for our costume. So I think that I am set. Like I said, the shoes that I have aren't the same, but they're going to be fine. So that'll be that. And then, do you have your costumes for your sons all set?
yes, the one piece to my youngest is not in yet, and it's kind of coming late. So I'm a little nervous, but oh well, it's like whatever. And then my other son's is just about done. So
Is he
we're good.
wearing something different? Or are they doing a party at school?
I don't know. I just was asking him about that. I haven't gotten any like paper about anything unless I missed it. Because
That's
last year, or
weird.
like both years in preschool, they had like a whole thing, but it's like it'd be next week. So
Yeah,
I don't
that's kind of
know.
weird.
I know. I thought it was too, but maybe I don't know. I feel like in kindergarten they would still do that fun stuff, but I'm
Yeah,
sure it'll be like a last minute whateverness. But like I said, and I could have missed it. So
they'll be like, you don't have to dress up.
or like I maybe too because I don't have Facebook, so maybe they have stuff in the
Oh,
Facebook group.
but that's not fair because if you shouldn't have to have Facebook to get updates
No,
about your kid's school. That's insane.
I know. I don't. I think so too. Especially it's like I don't want Facebook.
Yeah. Especially just for that one thing. Like, why should you
Literally,
have to make an account for that?
literally.
Remember
anyway.
when we used to have such extravagant parties because the parents were allowed to
I know.
come in?
And we do the games and the prizes and the costume. Did
They
we
don't
still
do that.
I remember in high school you could do costumes, and then when we were little, but I feel like they'd stop letting us do it when
I know, and
in
kind of like
grade
those
school.
middle grades.
Yeah, like it almost seemed like kindergarten they stopped.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I know, like because it's distracting.
Well, because at one point in my career, I taught for a hot second, which I smartly moved on from fourth graders, but they were dressed up.
Hmm.
So maybe it's just like a school by school thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I don't
know.
know. Hmm.
Yeah. I remember in high school, I feel like, well, I guess I just don't recall. I know we always dressed up. I feel like a lot of other people did, but maybe I just think that because our friend group would.
I feel like people dressed up.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
definitely feel like there's quite a bit of people because it's like you didn't have to wear your freaking uniform.
I know. So that was a draw for people.
So, what were we? I feel like one time, I remember what they did. You could wear a costume or you could do like a jeans day.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think one time me and you just like switched shirts and we were each other.
One year we were football players.
Football players. Then we were the Powder Puff Girls with
Yeah.
that other girl. And then I feel like Cowgirls or
We were
something.
cowgirls and we were called prostitutes
Mhm.
by
By my neighbor.
yeah. So if you're listening, you know who you are.
Anyway.
But yeah. So those were, I feel like one year I feel like we dressed up twice.
Maybe one time it was for like a spirit week or something.
Yeah,
Maybe they did
maybe.
something.
Yeah. We always were very last minute. We did not
What do we
plan our
do?
costumes like we do now. We were like, oh, what's in our closets? Or we'd be doing like a early Walmart run.
I know, right? Oh yeah, because didn't we do like a murder mystery thing?
That was a
for a birthday
party.
party?
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of our friends did it, and then the exchange student came, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
For multiple. That was the year there were multiple.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun. Anywho.
Yeah, that was the one party that we had that was actually like a legitimate theme. Nothing else was a fun theme.
Nope.
I feel like, I don't know, I don't think that kids get into like themes and costumes as much anymore. Like you see them, maybe it's just where we live, because you see all these fun ideas on TikTok. But then I remember when I was in college, it was like we planned like crazy. Like we were, because we'd be going out 2 weekends. It's like, okay, we need outfits for every day that's different, and we need to match, or we need to, do a group costume, or we're having a party. So like maybe you don't have a like Halloween resurgence until you get into college, because there's parties and everybody's dressing up.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely it. Because it's like when you're, 12, 13, 14, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I feel like you're not really doing like Halloween parties in
Yeah.
that way, but maybe other places they do. But yeah, it seems like more when you're like an adult, then you start doing Halloween again.
Yeah, in college. And then when you're out of it, you're kind of like, well, maybe this is just us, but you're like, oh, well, now there's no more parties. So what do we do? And then you kind of just like dress up to pass out candy, or you wait until someone has kids and then you're like, well, we dress up for the kids.
Right.
Because we've said that, like, nobody we know has a fun Halloween party.
I know.
Not that our social circle is huge, but still.
It just would be like weird to like act like Halloween isn't happening.
I know. Especially because I was at the Y earlier this week, and they had all their Halloween stuff out. And I guess yesterday they had like, I don't know if it was like a party or if they just did like a walk through trick or treat. I wasn't there to see it. I wish that I would have, but they still, like, they had all their decorations up beforehand, and it
Yeah,
looked
I
so
think
fun.
I know. I think I had a little flyer from my kid's school about that Y party.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was saying that county or whatever, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, seeing everything that they had out, it looked like they put a lot into it. Like, they had decorations everywhere. So I bet it was fun.
Aw.
Yeah. So it's just like, I wish that we knew people that would just do that for adults.
I know, especially, right? Especially for people who have like a birthday around this time of the year.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have a dress up party every year?
If I had an October birthday, you better believe I would throw a Halloween party every year.
Yeah,
Like, come on, how do you not?
right. Mom.
We're both spring babies.
Yeah, freaking lame.
Anyway, but speaking of holidays, I've been noticing a lot on our Instagram that the advent calendars are coming up for all the different brands.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got the email about the Sephora advent calendar, which I think I saw something about it on TikTok too, because I saw it online and then I instantly went to their website because I'm not good. I mean, if it was a really good advent calendar, I might consider buying it, but it's still like expensive if you're just getting mini products, in my
I
opinion.
know.
But the Sephora one was so annoying because I don't know when this came out, and I know some people are the influencers that get things early, but there were multiple 1-star reviews that were just like, I'm so disappointed with Sephora. Like, you didn't get this. I'm sorry.
Right. Right.
Like, what are you making a stupid review for?
The only advent calendar I want is one with chocolate in every
Seriously.
slot.
Like, and the beauty ones, like, I do like the idea of it. Like, and I like
Yeah, the idea is awesome.
yeah, of like the surprise of doing it every day and stuff, but I just don't like anytime, like at Sephora, I stopped getting the little, like, cashing my points in for those little
I
trial things
know.
because I don't like getting the trial things because I never end up using them.
Right, or it's like something random. It's like I would never wear that lip color.
Yeah,
I would never wear that whatever. I don't
right.
want that perfume smell
I
that's this
know.
big.
Or it'll be like, okay, this is a $125 face cream, and then I love
Right.
it, but I'm not gonna pay $125 every couple months now.
I know. Like when I got those friggin' good, I mean, they were like pretty good sample sizes of the
Oh,
Lamere or
yeah.
whatever. But the way I savored that. Like I'll never spend the money on this,
I
but
know. It just makes me sad.
I know.
Yeah, I did see, when was I there? A couple weeks ago, I was at World Market and they were getting, I might have said this already, I can't remember, but I was getting they were putting out all their Christmas stuff and their holiday stuff. And I don't know if our listeners have ever gone to World Market during the holidays, but it is such a magical time because they have so many fun things from all over the world, and they have unique things and yummy treats and cute decor. And they had all their new advent calendars, and I wanted to buy one so bad, but this was like the beginning of October, so I stopped myself.
It's not time. Yeah, you're like, it's
Yeah.
not.
But
I
then you
know
get worried because they put them out so early and you're scared that it's gonna be gone.
I know I know I hate when they do that. I'm like, I'm not ready yet, you know. But it was like I went to get crafts at Hobby Lobby for costumes, and they had the Christmas stuff out, and I did get that little twinge, that little flutter in my belly
I know.
for the holidays. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, there it is, there it
And you're
is.
like,
I'm like, not
should
yet.
Should I?
And it's like, not yet. Take it
Yeah.
down. Take it down. Get through Halloween.
I know. I literally picked up one of the advent calendars and I'm looking at it like, it would be so easy to put it in my basket.
I know it's just like there's just something about like walking around shopping during the holiday season with all the like gift sets and I mean
know.
it's just there's nothing like it, and I
No,
hate
there
that I'm
really
giving in
isn't.
to all the consumer. But even if you go into like a Barnes and Noble, it's just
Yeah.
like
And it literally is too, like the holiday cheer, the bustle of people around
yes,
you.
I love
I
the
mean,
bustle.
it's just so everybody's walking with their bags. You've got the
Mhm.
last minute shoppers that are like buying things and they're stressed. And then you've got the people that are like leisurely enjoying their evening. It's like, oh, I love it
I
so
know.
much.
I know, or even just like going into a restaurant during the
Yeah,
holiday season and it's like really dark out, it's
I
5 o'clock and
know.
it's just so
Oh,
cozy and you have your sweater on and your cozy
mhm.
drink and
I know. And then
incredible.
even, like, if you're in an outdoor shopping center, like, you're
Yes.
all bundled up, and then how warm and cozy it is in a store, and then
I know.
you get ready to go back out and have your hat and gloves on,
I
and you're like,
know.
"Okay, I'm ready." Like,
I know.
it's just so nice.
It is. I know. I'm like so excited. I'm like, once Halloween's over, I think it's time to get the tree up, the lights.
Well, I got in the mail, and my dad did too, because we get real Christmas trees, and the tree tagging is November 2nd.
Dang.
So that morning, I'm gonna be there getting my tree tagged.
Nice.
I know, so feels good. And then usually that Thanksgiving weekend is when I'll go and get my tree.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just nice, the holidays.
I know.
And I do love all the gift sets that you mentioned too. Even if I don't end up getting them or I don't have a reason
Have
to
to
get
look.
it. Yeah, you have to look at them.
You know, especially when just like random stuff is in holiday packaging. It's like, yep, perfect.
You know I'm picking
How
that up.
you know, it's like, how'd you know I wanted this with snowflakes on it?
I know. That I'm immediately gonna throw the box away and have the regular product.
Literally.
But yeah, that time is coming and I'm fine with it. I just wasn't ready, you know.
I know. I like Halloween. I like the fall. I like
Mhm.
all that. So
And then when it's been nice out too, because the past,
I know.
couple weeks have been so nice. Like I don't want to start thinking about Christmas stuff until it gets cold. I just don't.
I know. Same.
So anyway, I don't think I had any other news of the week.
No, me either.
Should we go through OC real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I said it before we started. I just did not get to the last 10 minutes, but I don't think anything really crazy happened in those last 10 minutes that's more than what was seen in the preview. So I think I'll be okay. We're still in London at this point, and we left off with the Shannon dinner where she storms off yet again. So Shannon and Emily are together eating breakfast, and Shannon's just sharing how she's feeling kind of frustrated about the night before. And she's just like talking about Tamra. And yet again, I know last weekend we're like, she doesn't have the actual control on who gets invited and who doesn't. But it just sounds so dumb when she was like, I don't want Alexis to be invited because she's bad mouthing me, yada, yada. When like she brings Tamra and is fine with her coming, and Tamra's been bad mouthing her the
Ruthless.
whole
Literally ruthless.
Yeah, and it's just kind of silly. Like there you're like, okay, well, you don't have the control. Like they probably didn't invite Alexis because of budget, because she's not a main cast member. She's a friend of.
Right.
And it switches to Tamra and Katie then, and they're kind of they kind of had them all in like random pairings at different random places, which was a little weird, but whatever. They're at this spa just kind of laying on a like stone bed, which I don't really know how that was relaxing, but whatever.
No.
And they're rehashing the night too. And they're talking about like the money thing with Shannon. And they were talking about how like Shannon's so bad at managing her money and all this stuff, and like, why is she getting surgery? Well, I know why she's getting surgery, because she's on a reality show.
Right.
But I was just thinking, like, why couldn't she have gotten a sponsor for that?
I don't know. Or if it was like she needed him to give her this gift. You know how some people kind of like have something, there's like something about that. Who knows?
Because I feel like they do those types of trade-offs all the time with reality stars. Like, or even, I mean, Heidi Montag has been very open about her getting surgeries and just saying like, oh yeah, Dr. So-and-so did it, and promoting it.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of like, or maybe she felt like she was above that or something.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, or like that's like for the young people that just kind of like don't care.
Yeah. And then we have Gina and Jenn that are at a separate spa. And overall, I was so annoyed with Gina this episode. Like every time she came on and had a new confessional, I was just like, I'm so tired of you and your freaking accent. Like I can't. But they're talking about Gina is saying that Heather and Tamra have it out for Shannon. And of course, now we're just lumping Heather and Tamra together, even though I don't think that's fair at all. And in the meantime, then Heather goes up to Shannon's room with Emily, and she's like, you know, I want to just talk about last night. Like, let's clear the air. And then Shannon, I still just don't understand this. Like, I don't get how Shannon is mad at Heather. Like, Heather didn't say anything about the picture until Shannon talked about it on Jeff Lewis.
Right.
So it doesn't even make sense why she's upset with her. And she keeps saying, oh, I talked to you in confidence. No, you didn't. You talked to her with the cameras rolling. Like, that's not in confidence. Like,
No.
And then, of course, we have a bit of physical comedy again from Shannon when she gets up from the table and is like, that's it. I'm getting it. And she comes out with all these crumpled pieces of paper that apparently she has been thinking back years to the first 6 months of their relationship and has been writing down every single thing that she paid for in the first 6 months that she and John Jansen were together.
And she brought them on a vacation with her.
So she literally purposefully packed them in her suitcase.
Because she's nuts. Like, I just can't with that. Like, it's like, I understand you're trying to clear your name after all this drama in the media, but I just, like, can't.
Well, and Heather and Emily, like, were completely beside themselves. Like, they couldn't even control their laughter. And Shannon's like, I've got him right here, like, totally trying to be serious about it. But and I think that we talked about this, like, I snapped you about it because I was just thinking, I think that Shannon, her love language is gift giving. And like she
Right.
likes to be the person that gives something because that makes her feel like fulfilled in a relationship.
Right.
And even look at like the Burberry scarves and the gift bags that she got all the girls. Like there was no reason to get them a expensive
Right.
Burberry scarf.
And like with people who their love language is gift giving, I understand why Shannon's getting so triggered by her alleged not gift of the facelift from him and how it's like being like used against her, and that's like very detrimental to their love language situation.
Yeah.
So it's like I understand that this is a quite triggering. It's not fun to watch.
No, but it's just like she's making it so comical because she keeps doing things like this and then she's contradicting herself left and right. Like it's just absurd at this point, honestly. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, she does that. She brings out all these notes and I don't even know how she's going back and remembering. And we go back to, I think it was with Gina and Jenn talking, and they bring up that thing about the dress that Jenn got for Shannon's tea. And look, I get that Jenn feels like she needs to keep up with the Joneses. I totally understand that. It has to be intimidating when you have these women that are dressed in designer things. But like, come on, how do you expect like people who are your legitimate friends and aren't your friends to not comment on that when, a week before she said, I'm only getting $6,000 a month from boom, sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. From my ex. Like
Right.
how and then the dress was $2,000, so you spent a third of your monthly allowance? Like that doesn't make any sense. How can you defend that?
Right.
And was it a little shady it seemed like they again put it on Heather, but it seems like many of them were talking about it. But it's like, sure, but was it also just like a valid topic of conversation? Like, I kind of think so.
Yeah, it was just like she shouldn't have known what Heather said specifically. Like that was just annoying that was even brought up.
Yeah, I know. But the clip that they showed was, I don't know if they had a conversation about this before, but the clip they showed of Heather, Tamra, and Emily in the bus together talking about it.
Right.
Like the three of them were there talking, and Emily was in that too. Like, oh, I can't believe that. Like that's crazy to spend. But nobody's bringing Emily into it.
Nope, because they got their agenda with Tamra and Heather.
Yeah. So that got brought up again later, and I just think it's like silly. And Heather did a pretty good job of deflecting and trying
I know, that was A plus, girl.
No.
I would have been like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. You were worried about me. Like, but then when she's like, yeah, well, Ryan paid for it. That goes right to what they're saying too. Like, you're relying on Ryan just like you relied on your ex-husband, and look where that got you.
Right.
But whatever. I feel like Jenn she doesn't want to hear it. Like, she doesn't want to. But anyway, I did like a little bit that, I guess you can kind of fill in the blank for me at the end of the episode, but when Jenn was talking to Gina, she kind of starts to stand up for herself a little bit regarding the Tamra stuff. So how did it come to be at the end? Did she just like did something new come up that Tamra was saying?
I guess I don't know where this part comes in, but basically Tamra maybe was texting Shannon. Did you see the part where Shannon shows Jenn the text?
Oh, is this the background check thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's bringing that up to Tamra at the end, and then is like, why do you care, basically? Like, just leave us alone. You're supposed to be my friend. She's like, just stop worrying about
But isn't that also kind of like insane?
Well, and then Tamara's like, just like doesn't even deny it. She goes, I didn't hire it was like that technicality. I didn't hire a private investigator. I just asked a friend if he actually worked in mortgages. Oh, it was actually really hilarious, the whole fight. Because Tamara's like, Jenn walks in. Tamra is talking crap about somebody, and it sounds exactly like Jenn's situation. And it's just like, oh, hi. Like, she's like, and then they're going to get engaged. It's actually pretty funny if you watch it.
I'll have to watch it.
But that's kind of basically what I think. It was just Jenn had enough when Shannon showed her those text messages. She's like, well, and they're from 2 years ago. And Tamara's like, yeah, 2 years ago, I did do that. Like, I was asking around about that. And it's like, why was Shannon? I was just mad that Shannon even showed. And it's like, I guess, I don't know why, because I'm just irritated at Shannon. Like,
Yeah.
Tamra is being so mean to Shannon, but I still think that was crappy that they pulled up 2 years ago text messages about that. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's seriously dumb.
You
And
have
I
to go
don't know,
rooting through your phone for that.
literally, like, first of all, last episode, Shannon's like, I randomly found this text from 2018. Like, did you, Shannon?
I know. Like, it's just like she's freaking obsessing over it. And I just thought that was wrong because first of all, if you're my friend and I'm on a rampage about something insane, you should be able to trust, even if we became enemies, that you're not gonna go show that person, especially because sometimes you're really mad and enraged about something in the moment from 2 years ago, and you're not feeling that way now, which Tamra is, but it's like,
it's also just crappy because Shannon is getting mad at Tamra, which some points are definitely valid as to why. Right. But then she's going and doing the exact same thing.
I know, she's just being like vengeful.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think bringing something up from 2 years ago is fair. Like, that, like, you two were friends at one point, and now you're just like, that trust that I had for you, even if we're enemies now, I just don't like that they've done that on some of these, like, this season, where it's like, I should be able to talk to my friend about something that I'm
be able to talk crap to my friend and know
about somebody I hate. Being like, it just like, and that shouldn't get back to them. I guess that's the way I felt about that whole thing. I'm like, that should not have gotten back to Jenn, especially since they were kind of like getting in a better place.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they brought up when they were talking about the Heather stuff with Shannon. I'm glad that they brought that clip up from last year too, where it was like Shannon had gone off camera and talked to all the women and talked
Yeah.
crap about John Jansen, but then gets mad when they like kind of bring it up on camera or allude to stuff on camera. It's
Right.
like, okay, but now you're doing the exact same thing and you're digging up old conversations. Like, I don't believe for 1 second that Tamra doesn't have 150 things that she could dig up immediately on Shannon.
Right.
That what she's said about other people or things that she's done. Like, she easily could do that.
Right.
But like,
It's
as
just
of right
dirty.
now,
I
she's
just think
not.
it's dirty.
Yeah,
Like
I do
Tamara's incriminated herself a million different times without you having to bring something like that up.
Yeah, that's just unnecessary, honestly. And then to find out that it was from 2 years ago, like,
I know,
why?
it's like
What's
that's
the point?
crazy. I know, it was just so dumb. It's like, yeah, they were in a bad place. We watched it on air.
Yeah, yeah. And to be fair, we're still questioning what Ryan does.
I
Like,
know, and it's
this
like,
season, Jenn even said he doesn't do anything right now. So,
I know, and then Jenn was like, it's single white. She's like single white femaling me. And it's like I get like I don't understand what Tamara's whole thing with Ryan is. Like it just seems like just mind your own business kind of, but it's like I don't know. I should sometimes you get hung up on something and you want
I
to get
know.
all the info you can because you don't trust the situation.
But
But anyway,
also, I don't know why I'm being like a Tamra defender in
I
weird
know I
ways,
can't help it right now. I just
but
can't
like,
help it.
if I had questions about like what your husband did for a living, like we're friends, but I might still raise some eyebrows and like,
Right,
like wouldn't you be curious
right,
especially if you were so like quiet about it and we're kind of like,
right.
oh, well, he's in between jobs right
Something,
now,
yeah,
but we're
yeah.
going to Vegas every other week. Like, I'd be like,
Mhm.
something's not
I
adding
know.
up.
Right, and I think that at the end of the day, that's kinda like what Tamara's saying, and it's like, why can't she talk to her friend about that
Yeah.
through a text message?
Yeah. And why can't she, maybe ask someone who happens to do a little digging on somebody's
I
background?
know. That
Maybe
right, and it's like, it sounds crazy, like, it goes back to Sheena still having, the
the
location
location
thing. It's like, it sounds bad when you're saying it,
out
but
loud.
we've all done something a little unhinged,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, so um I don't know. I feel like Jenn does this though, where she'll like stand up for herself and then she's like, I've done this so many times to Tamra. And then it's like 2 episodes later, we're right back to, I'm sorry. Let's
I
try
know.
again.
And she does, like, at the end fight, she does do a good job at standing up for herself. It just wasn't gonna get anywhere with the devil. When you're talking to sitting there with the devil, it's not gonna get anywhere.
Oh my God. Um, I just was kind of disappointed in the London trip in general. I felt like all the things that they were doing were really like gimmicky and touristy and like
Yeah.
it just really didn't seem that fun. Like, why weren't they doing cool London things instead
'Cause
of
they hate each other.
like they're putting on London like Union Jack bucket hats and crowns and robes and I'm like, this is honestly embarrassing.
I
Like,
know.
why are they doing this? And then they like what is the one group like goes and gets those old timey pictures taken and the other group
Yeah.
is shopping or something. Like, what is going on? Like,
Mhm.
I've never been to London, but I'm sure that there's a million things that they could have done that would have been actually cool.
Right.
And the thing with Gina, like there were so many times throughout this episode where she's talking crap about Heather, and then in the confessionals she'll like continue to do it, and it's just like, okay, we know that you don't like Heather, you're like weirdly jealous of her, like stop, like just why do you, it's like she wants to be her friend so bad but she also hates her, and it's just like enough is enough. Like when she brought up the mammogram thing, I was just like, you're kidding me.
I know.
And it was so unfair, in my opinion, to blame Heather for that. Like
I know.
and even when she said, like, in the text about her family history, you just asking, Heather, how did your appointment go or your exam go?
Right.
Isn't asking about, like, oh, I know you have family history of this. Like, is everything okay? Like, there's a different way you could have brought it up. And they were just looking for a reason to not talk about it because they don't like Heather.
Right.
And then I liked how Heather was totally just like, this is crap. Like, I'm not going there with you. And then Gina
Right.
said, of course, I'm not allowed to have any feelings. Well, no.
This film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not when it's annoying and not valid. I just was kind of exhausted by some of the petty, argumentative stuff. But then at the same time, I'm like, why else do I watch this show? You know,
Right.
like, what else do I want to see? And then we get to the dinner, which is where the most of the things happen. They bring up the money stuff with Jenn again, which we kind of already talked about. Gina's annoying even more. Shannon brings up the Alexis text, which I just still don't see how there's like basis for that. Like, even if she said it in the text that like we are going to be talking to a lawyer, her name still wasn't on the lawsuit. So like technically she wasn't involved. Like that doesn't mean anything. And like we said last weekend, Shannon is just deflecting.
Yep.
And oh my God, when they're fighting about that, and then Tamra like shuts down and she just starts covering Shannon's face. It reminded me of my cousin when he was little. Do you remember when he used to do that?
Yeah.
He would just like get mad at somebody, and then usually my grandpa, and he would just like cover their face like that, and it was so rude. And just
Tamra doing it at 50 years old.
Yeah. I'm like,
also, I can't blame her either because I would just want to shut her up too.
Me too. I was so over that. And then they did the funny edit of Tamra and Shannon in their confessionals saying the same thing, where they're like, I'm just so over this. I'm done. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm sure you guys are. And Shannon then is like, well, or Tamra's like, goodbye or whatever. And then Shannon's like, no, why don't you go? Because this is my party, my dinner, my trip. And then she gets up and they're like, no, Shannon, don't leave. And she's like, I'm just going to the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God, Shannon, like you're just such a mess. And then the part where I kind of stopped was they did that kind of, I guess it would be like kind of fun and silly if you like had a few drinks and you like text your significant other and stuff, like something kind of sexy. But I thought it was just a little weird because they're in London. So like them saying how fast can you get here was
I know, I was like whatever.
Yeah. And then they're all saying their stuff, and then they pan to Shannon, who didn't have anybody to text. And I did feel a little bad for her in that
I
moment.
know.
And
Me
then
too.
she's like, "Oh, I gotta go." And then they go off and have like a fun night after. And then Shannon's just in her hotel room on her own. I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Stewing.
Yeah, probably going through her text messages for the next day.
Yep.
Did they end up showing anything with her daughters?
I don't remember that they did. No.
Maybe they couldn't film or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. And then we already talked about the ending part there. But yeah,
And Heather was so funny too because she was like, well, that was weird.
Yeah,
It's
because
like
they're
Jen
like
comes,
getting their makeup done, right?
yeah, and then Jen tells the lady to turn the blow dryer off and everything. She goes, "Can you turn that off?" Okay. No, it was just like they're just like out of nowhere to be sitting there just like talking, and then this person comes in mad about something from 2 years ago. It's insane.
So random.
But it was Shannon just getting her riled up and upset about something she's already upset about, you know?
Again, deflecting.
Yep. Just
Yeah.
crappy.
Yeah. I know that we're in the minority here, the ones that aren't on Shannon's the victim side, but sorry, we're just seeing through it.
I know.
So I don't know how many episodes there are left, because this is like, is it episode 15?
I don't know.
We're in quite a few, but I don't know which one it is. But yeah, I wonder how many more. They haven't said anything about the finale yet, though, so I guess we're still a few away.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how this reunion will go.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that pretty much wraps that up. Did you have a recommendation for today?
No, I did not come up with one.
You can
Actually, yeah, sure. The pumpkin cream cheese at Aldi's.
Oh,
It's
that
very
sounds
good. And you know what a good idea is? Put chocolate chips on it and then like use pretzels and dip that in there.
Yum.
It's pretty good.
That sounds good. That's a good little snack. I had
It is.
the pumpkin cream cheese from Trader Joe's.
Well, they are
pretty
sister
pumpkin-y.
stores.
Yes, they are. Same family.
So
I wonder if
it's
they're
probably
the
the same product. It's probably the same product repackaged.
different brand on it. Yeah. I'm just gonna recommend that podcast that I mentioned, that Witnessed Fade to Black podcast. It's a true crime. It's fun. Oh, and also just thinking about podcasts that I've talked about before. I know many episodes ago I recommended American Scandal. Well, you won't believe this. I got a notification that they are putting all their previous seasons behind a paywall.
Mm-hmm.
That just frustrates me. It's like, good thing I listened to those before, because I'm not going to pay for that.
I know, like if people think I'm going to be paying for podcasts, they got something.
They've got another thing coming, because I'm
Nothing,
not.
dude.
Yeah.
No, I'll go back to only books.
Literally.
Who can play at that game?
I'll go back to reading. That'll teach them. Yeah.
Yeah, and no TV or nothing.
Yeah. I was just so mad. I'm like, ugh, that's something we'll never do, guys. So if you want to go back and listen to all 80 whatever other episodes we have, please do. If we start our Patreon, that is the only time you will have to pay for our content.
I had to laugh the canceled podcast, they had their 100th episode.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for 4 years.
Oh my God. Wait,
But there was there was 1 year, they like took 1 full year off. But still.
I wish we had that luxury and then to just
No.
come back and not have any
I
problem.
know, rebrand and everything's fine. But they didn't even rebrand. They just did more of a casual sitting situation. But yeah, I was like laughing. They're like, it's only been 100 episodes.
I think this is 86 for us.
Yeah.
And we're not even 2 years in.
I know. So I just thought that was funny.
Well, we'll have to have a huge celebration for our 100th. We're a ways away from that. But yeah, we're going to have to reach out to some celebrity guests that might want to feature.
Maybe it'll just be people in our life doing the podcast, not us.
Maybe by the time we get to 100, we'll take off. You know, that'll be all it needed was 100 episodes. And then we'll suddenly have, you know, 1 million listeners a week.
Right.
We just had to stick with it. We're trying to be positive. Well, anyway, on that happy note, make sure to tell your friends about the pod. And we really need to get better about putting our stickers out there. We have a bunch of stickers. It's just so hard because I feel bad sticking them on places.
Yeah, I don't like vandalizing.
I know. Like, they're pretty easy to remove, I guess, if somebody didn't want it here, but still. But yeah, tell a friend. If you like us, please make sure to give us a follow on socials and on your podcast platforms. If you like us even a little bit, just go ahead and give us a nice rating and maybe even a review, and we will love you forever, because that would just make our whole week probably if we had a nice review. But yeah, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.